Welcome to today's deep dive. Settle in, turn down the lights, and prepare yourself, because today we are exploring a narrative that is, well, it's genuinely unsettling.
It really is. I'm thrilled to be here to tear into this one with you.
We are unpacking an excerpt from the serial Chasing Death, specifically episode 17, titled The Demonstration. And look, on the surface, this is a story about a royal court, assassination attempts, and a mysterious man who claims to have lived for 1,000 years.
Right. But we're not just here to recount a fantasy tale. This text is a profound, almost surgical look at human psychology.
Exactly. Our mission today is to dig into the corrosive nature of envy, the sheer illusion of absolute power, and the terrifying, lonely reality of true immortality.
It asks the question, how do ambitious, powerful men react when they are confronted with something they can neither control nor understand?
And to set the scene for you, we are dropped right into the suffocating, paranoid tension of a grand royal court. A governor has just orchestrated a highly secretive assassination plot against the minister of the court, a man named Zayn.
A plot that has completely, inexplicably failed.
Right. And Zayn is alive and well. Okay, let's unpack this. We open on the immediate aftermath of this attack. The governor is terrified. He's actively avoiding Zayn's gaze across the room.
He is. And you have to imagine the physical weight of that panic. Zayn is highly perceptive. He watches the governor's shifting, nervous body language and knows exactly what this man has done.
The governor realizes he's essentially sharing a room with an apex predator. His plot wasn't self-defense. It was born of pure, distilled envy. He simply wanted Zayn's position.
And when you realize the person you tried to murder is entirely unharmed and staring right back at you, that envy curdles into pure panic.
So the governor sneaks away from the opulence of the court. He desperately needs to know what went wrong. He heads to the secluded, dusty dwelling of his hired assassin, an Abyssinian guard named Zayn. And the image we get here is genuinely haunting.
It's brilliant writing. The Marud isn't just scared, his mind is completely broken.
The governor finds him sitting in the dirt, frantically drawing senseless lines in the sand, deeply traumatized.
Right. Drawing lines in the dirt is an externalization of a mind trying to reestablish logic. When human beings are confronted with the truly impossible, the brain just short-circuits.
And Zayn swears by Zeus, which, by the way, wonderfully grounds this in a rich, ancient world. He swears that he drove his dagger into Zayn's chest 3 times, full, powerful thrusts.
Blows that would bring a great elephant stumbling to its knees. That's the phrase he uses.
Yes. But the impossible result, the thing that broke Zayn, is that not a single drop of blood fell. No wounds remain. Zayn is shivering, convinced Zayn is a demon or a wizard.
Because Zayn knows how flesh yields to steel. When it doesn't, dark magic is the only logical conclusion for a hardened killer.
But then we see a fascinating psychological pivot. As the governor walks back in the dark, the truth settles over him. Zayn hadn't been lying about living for 1,000 years. And instead of running away, the governor's fear twists into this dark ambition.
It's the ultimate expression of human hubris. He decides he wants the secret of eternal life for himself.
He confronts Zayn at midnight. The governor begs for the secret, promising to be indebted to him until the end of time.
And Zayn's response is so telling. He looks at the governor and says, the immortality isn't his to give. He calls it a holy prayer, or perhaps a demonic curse.
A demonic curse? What a burden.
Exactly. And Zayn swears by the great God he doesn't actually know the secret. But the governor absolutely refuses to believe him. It highlights the blinding nature of human greed.
The governor thinks everything is a transaction, right? If he had that power, he would hoard it and use it. So he projects that onto Zayn.
And when Zayn won't give it up, the governor decides to force his hand. He escalates the situation to the most dangerous man in the realm, King Hannibal.
We transition from the shadows of the estate right into the brutal reality of the war room. King Hannibal is deeply engrossed in his maps, planning a massive invasion of the kingdom of Nubia.
What's fascinating here is the governor's masterful manipulation of the king. He preys on the ultimate vulnerability of a conqueror.
He asks Hannibal what the point of conquering the world is if you can't keep it forever.
He reminds this all-powerful king that no matter how much land he takes, he will eventually die and leave it all behind with empty hands.
Empty hands. Death is the one enemy Hannibal can't beat with an army. So the governor dangles the cure. He pitches the existence of a secret that makes death forbidden. He reveals that Zayn holds it, refuses to share it, and then he challenges Hannibal to kill Zayn just to prove it.
It's the ultimate gamble, And Hannibal is highly skeptical. He sets incredibly high stakes.
A terrifying ultimatum.
Yes, Hannibal promises that if the governor is lying, he will be sewn into a leather shroud and cast into the Nile.
The claustrophobia of that is horrifying, but the governor confidently accepts.
Which shows you just how completely the governor believes Zamarid's impossible story. His greed has entirely eclipsed his survival instinct.
The trap is set. And this brings us to the most cinematic sequence of the text.
Yeah.
The demonstration. The court gathers. The hall is crowded, but it goes completely silent.
You can feel the temperature drop in the room.
Hannibal demands to know if Zayn is truly a 1,000-year-old descendant of the pharaohs.
And Zayn realizes concealment is no longer possible. He offers a calm, steady admission. He confirms his lineage.
And when Hannibal asks for proof, Zayn replies with this chilling logic. He looks around the crowded hall and states that eventually everyone in the room will die, and he will remain.
He says, if it were my destiny to die, I wouldn't have survived 1,000 years. That composure enrages Hannibal. The king views himself as the sole arbiter of destiny. He decides who lives and dies. Zayn's quiet defiance is a direct threat to his absolute authority.
So Hannibal declares they will test that destiny. Here's where it gets really interesting. The physical testing begins. Test 1. Hannibal summons the royal executioner.
A man whose entire profession is dealing death.
He steps forward, his great sword catching the light. He swings the blade with absolute full strength right at Zayn's neck. Courtiers actually shut their eyes, terrified of the gore. But when they open them, Zayn is just standing there.
The imagery is unnerving. The blade passes clean through, but the flesh closes behind it like water parting around a hand.
Like water parting around a hand, no blood, no wound. Violence against him is as effortless as disturbing a puddle.
Hannibal is shaken, but his ego takes over. He escalates to test 2. He shouts to bring in the war elephant.
A massive beast, thousands of pounds of muscle. They make Zayn lie on the floor, place a heavy wooden plank over his body, and command the elephant to step onto the plank.
An execution method designed to completely crush the human skeletal structure. Overwhelming physical force.
But from beneath that unimaginable weight, Zayn doesn't scream. He remains perfectly calm. He politely asks Hannibal, "When will you finally believe me?"
That polite, unyielding defiance is what truly breaks Hannibal's worldview. The violence doesn't even inconvenience Zayn. The king's power to destroy is rendered completely meaningless.
Grasping for anything to reestablish dominance, Hannibal issues a final, horrific command for Test 3. A cauldron of boiling olive oil.
A death beyond imagining.
The court falls into a stunned hush. A massive iron vat of oil, bubbling and spitting over a fierce fire, is brought out. The heat must be intense. The guards move in, but Zayn just raises a hand. He tells them force isn't necessary. He casually removes his shoes and steps into the boiling oil like a child entering a cool summer pond.
The lack of sensory details here makes it so immersive. No sound of burning flesh, no scream. The boiling oil glides off his body like cold water off a stone. He even pours the scalding liquid over his own head.
The court is entirely paralyzed. But Hannibal needs to prove the heat is real. He takes a small bird from a cage and drops it into the vat.
A brutal contrast.
In a single instant, the creature is fried to nothing, obliterated. While Zayn peacefully bathes, Hannibal is defeated. His entire framework of power collapses, and he signals for Zayn to step out.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the climax of this scene is a masterstroke of poetic justice. As Zayn steps out, he scoops a handful of that boiling oil and with a flick of his wrist, flings it onto the governor's hand.
The governor shrieks as angry blisters rise instantly across his skin.
It's physical proof of the danger. The world is still deadly. Zayn is just immune to it.
Zayn finally lays out the governor's entire sordid plot to the king. He reveals how the governor hid stolen jewelry under his bed to frame him, and then sent a slave to assassinate him in the dark.
Hannibal's reaction is cold and absolute. The fury returns, but is directed at the true traitor.
He orders the governor taken to the deepest cell in the dungeon, a fitting end for a man consumed by dark ambition. He wanted to live forever and rule the court. Now he will rot in the dark.
But look at how Hannibal's tone shifts toward Zayn. The ego is gone. It's replaced by reverence. He addresses Zayn as noble saint.
He asks this immortal being to stay by his side and write the history of his reign. He recognizes Zayn as a living bridge across centuries, and Zayn bows and accepts. So what does this all mean? We've journeyed through a darkened court and witnessed impossible survival. We've explored the blinding nature of envy through the governor, a man who risked everything to grasp at a power not meant for him. And we've seen the limits of worldly power through King Hannibal, realizing that violence means nothing against the immovable weight of eternal life.
It really raises a question for you, listening right now. Consider how often the pursuit of what someone else possesses, like the governor's desperate grasp for immortality, ends up being the exact thing that destroys us. The governor blinded himself to his own mortal life and lost his freedom. It asks us to examine if we are building our own lives or obsessively coveting someone else's.
A haunting reflection. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over in the quiet of your own space. We've talked about immortality as a demonic curse or a shield against harm, but think about what eternal life does to the concept of human urgency.
The ticking clock.
Exactly. Our morality, our passions, they are dictated by the ticking clock of our mortality. We care about today because we might not have tomorrow. But if you were burdened with eternal life, forced to watch generations rise and fall like the blink of an eye, would you choose to step back into the world as an active participant in history, like Zayn writing the King's Chronicles? Or would you retreat and become a silent, apathetic observer? Without the ticking clock of death, what keeps you tethered to humanity at all?
Surviving the crushing apathy of endless time might be the hardest test of all.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the shadows of the court. Keep exploring, keep questioning the world around you, and we will see you next time.